there's a couple of seconds when you fire. It was a vicious scene. I mean, you have one person being shot up and pieces of flesh coming off him. This is actually what it looks like when a ball goes through the panel of the door.
Glory, glory, glory.
If you don't think these anti-Mormon cats nowadays wouldn't straight up do this exact same thing, you are fooling yourself. Is he going to agree with us? Is he going to agree with us?
He's thinking. The interesting thing when you use the ballistic gels is they actually also can modify the path of the shot. According to the documentations, there's 2 pistols in the room. Can you imagine if they did do that? There'd be civil war going on.
And these anti-Mormons haven't changed.
No.
Like they haven't changed. Literally read the Warsaw Signal. It's wokeism 1840s.
God does it to the 3rd and 4th generation, not WardRadio.
And he falls down on the windowsill and he compresses the pocket lock. And so...
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I am your host, Cardinal Ellis, and today I'm joined in the studio, back by popular demand, forensic expert Shannon Tracy, with a super cool hat. I'm digging the merch, man.
It's the merch. Yes,
yeah, we were almost match-sies today when I wore mine. We're also joined via Zoom by Luke Hansen, editor-in-chief of WardRadio News.
Still got to get that hat, man.
Yeah.
You don't
have a hat yet?
No.
Nope.
Oh,
We'll get there.
Lame, man. I'm going to ship that out today after this episode. And today we're going to be talking a little NCIS Liberty Jail, a little NCIS Carthage. Sorry. I didn't get to even correct myself before you jumped on that one, brother. So we're talking some NCIS Carthage today about what happened forensically in the Carthage assassination of Joseph Smith. Some people call it the first assassination of an American presidential candidate. Others call it a martyrdom of Joseph Smith, the prophet, the religious figure. And we've solicited the help of artificial intelligence and laser scanners and forensics with Shannon Tracy here to really tell us what is going on with Joseph Smith there. And this is going to be a wild ride that is super fun. And supervising the conversation will be Luke Hansen. If there's anything newsworthy that happens in this conversation, it is going to start
typing it up.
Yeah, he's just going to start typing it up. It's going to be a news article tomorrow. So without any further ado, Shannon, my man, tell us what is going on.
You bet. So for years, I've been skirting around the idea of doing a forensic reconstruction of the martyrdom. In fact, I started doing the investigation and collecting of the data back in 1996 when I wrote my first book about Joseph Smith, where we did a project where we forensically reconstructed the anatomy of Joseph and Hiram using their death masks and photographs of their skeletal remains. So what has been missing all along is a very accurate dive into the crime scene. And I've been waiting for technology to catch up with my vision, and it's here now. So most of you people are probably familiar with watching things like NCIS on TV.
Most of you people.
You people. Well, it's the ward members. They're probably used to seeing that. So what you see there is what we are going to be capable of doing here in Carthage. So to accomplish that, we plan on doing a documentary, which will have, obviously, in the core of that.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
Yeah, so in the core of that, it will have the forensic reconstruction. But outside and ancillary, as we go along, it will bring in all the other historical informations. There'll be, there'll be videos of on location and things like that. But the story that we're going for, or the information we're going for, is the factual reconstruction of the martyrdom. And to do that, we have to actually bring in a forensic crime scene specialist, and that will be the team lead. His job is to come in like he has, and the one that we have in mind has done over almost 1,000 crime scenes, and he knows how to come on site and start analyzing and trying to answer the question, what happened here and who did it? And that's the important thing, because on any crime scene, when you first hit the scene, you start asking what happened, when it happened, and how it did that. So he, as a team lead, will come in and establish who we need to be part of the team. We'll actually put the team together, and there would be a beginning team that does the analysis and say, okay, what are we looking like here? What do we have? And then they will map out along a timeline to accomplish the different sub-projects to actually to gather the facts. So we will be gathering the facts of the site itself, which means that we'll go out on site and we will digitize it. So we will bring technology, and you set it in the middle of the room and it just whirls around, and it takes every measurement.
So what you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, both Luke, if you heard this differently than I did, and Shannon, if I'm misrepresenting what you're saying, you're basically talking about what Assassin's Creed did to the Cathedral of Notre Dame. They scanned the lasers, kind of Batman style in The Dark Knight, with Morgan Freeman. He just scans the area to practically the micron.
Right.
And then you're able to make a digital file, a spatial file out of that. And it tells you a lot of information. It might even come in useful later on. For example, when the Cathedral at Notre Dame burns down and, you have to rebuild the thing, you've got an actual 3D model, a digital scan of it. So you want to do that at Carthage jail,
right,
to be able to forensically reconstruct step by step the martyrdom of Joseph Smith, because there is a lot of question marks about this. I mean, there's entire sects of Mormonism right now whose, like, I guess their pass along card is like the documentary, like who shot Joseph Smith.
Right. Shout
Shout out to a friend of the show, Justin Griffin. He's been on a couple of times talking his theories. There's also some people like that just deify Joseph Smith. He's like Elvis. He never died. You know what I'm saying? And they got they got their theories and so on and so forth. There's also just a lot of ignorance because the mob said one thing. Meanwhile, eyewitnesses said another. Okay. Some claim that he died up in the room. Others that he died down during the well. The affidavits of the trial of the people put on trial for murdering him said that he was prostrate up against the well and shot there. So you want to just kind of put it to bed, NCIS Carthage style, literally 3D reconstruct the entire place, and then almost like an introduction in a video game, you want to be able to show what happened during the martyrdom of Joseph Smith.
Right. So the premise is taking it, spinning it on its head of what's been going on right now and saying, we're not going to have a theory. We're just going to do it like a crime scene. What are we going to find out? What are we going to get with the investigation? And then let that speak, because that's how you do this. You don't start creating, shooting through heads and things like that. You actually say, what are the shots? We know, let's examine what are the shots. Who got shot where?
Wait, but that's what's so cool.
Well, you'll get that.
Like, come on, bro. If you don't get a freaking take an 1840s musket out in your backyard and start blowing up some ballistic gel, what's the point of the documentary, dude?
So I've got some stuff we're going to show you. Why don't you pop up the slide I have on my screen?
Okay, awesome.
So
and while you're popping that up, talking about technology, you actually don't need a little thingy in the middle of the room to like spin around and scan. They do this on iPhones now.
Yes,
there are people that go and scan like whole entire places or objects with just iPhones. It's crazy what you can do these days.
It is. There are levels of detail that you may get with a little bit more professional tools. So we'll just see what we have, what we can use and what we get and what our cost things are. But you are correct. It's not difficult to go in and capture an environment. So if you look on the screen here, I'm showing, this is just a line drawing of the upstairs. Actually, that's the downstairs of Carthage. Then I go to the next one. This is the upstairs. So we're going to go into every room in Carthage and scan it. And then we're going to build a full comprehensive 3D model of the building inside and out. We're going to do color, we'll do color captures. We'll do bump maps. So when you walk up to the Carthage, it will have you think that you're walking up to the real one. It'll be that detailed. So when you look at this room here, you have elements that will have to be broken out and scanned individually, like doors and windows, things that move up and down. You'll break them out. So when you get done, there's going to be a lot of different components. So we'll have beds and sheets and things like that. So it will be very comprehensive. There's actually an attic up there. Here's Carthage jail. You won't be able to discern the difference between our model and this if we do it right. So
rock on. Okay, well, burn through it, baby. You're NCIS Carthage.
Right.
You're the good-looking guy who used to be the quarterback for the Bruins that ended up retiring into acting and now runs all of the arrogant people in NCIS Los Angeles, bro.
Oh.
I mean, Los Angeles. I'm not
NCIS
Gibbs? Carthage. Yeah, Gibbs. I'm sorry. I was looking. My mom used to watch the show all the time.
Gibbsy's retired to Alaska now. So
okay. Did you know this is really hilarious? I grew up on one of the film sets of NCIS.
Cool.
In my
they gave you a cot?
In my not condominium, in my townhome complex. I grew up in a townhome in Los Angeles.
Right.
And there had all this pampas grass everywhere on the hills in this little valley that we were nestled in.
Right.
And so pampas grass just being green and blurry in the background, that can be Baltimore, that could be Detroit, that can be Florida. It was a very un-Californian looking kind of place. So NCIS filmed like 18 episodes when I was a kid there over like maybe a decade long run, at least once every 6 months. All the movie trailers were there. And not Gibbs. Who's the one that runs NCIS? Who is the
director? Well, they've had 3 of them. So
no, the main guy, the handsome guy is the white haired guy Gibbs. Is that his character? Okay, that's Gibbs. Dude, Gibbs is a super cool guy. He would play football with us. Like we knew that if Gibbs was there, like all of us kids, like with our bikes and stuff in the neighborhood, he would straight up throw the football with us. In between takes, we'd be like, "Hey Gibbs," you know what I'm saying? And there's like pictures of him with kids in the local neighborhood, just being like, "Go long, bro!" Just like launching a 50-yarder. And if you caught that, it's like, yeah, you know.
Well, he had to be cool because he married Darby from Mork and Mindy. So.
Dude, I don't remember any of that. I just know that he was really good at throwing the football.
Daubers, yeah. So okay,
cool.
So back to what we're at.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and pump on the screen that I have here?
Yeah, right here. Rock on.
Let me bring it up so it's big.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so we're going to solve the murder using modern day technology. Exactly how the police come in. They're coming in with a forensic science criminal investigator, and so there's a crime that was committed in. June of 1845.
Yeah.
We're going to solve it. How it's going to solve. We're going to form a team of experts led by the forensic criminal science expert. Then we're going to bring other forensic experts in as needed, as defined by that team lead, and bring the historians in, then bring the technology in.
Yeah.
So the technology is going to help us actually solve the crime using modern day technology. So we need to define what our goal is. Our goal there is not to have a theory to start off with, is to say, no, we're going to look at the facts, we're going to examine it as a crime scene, and we're going to let it talk to us.
Are you going to spray the walls with luminol and then take a black light?
Only if you go in ahead of time and bleed all over and things. So
okay.
I'm pretty sure I know where some stains were. The church has done a lot of work to at first try to hide them and then to cover them up.
Emphasis on the hide.
So we will follow the facts. We will create a voluminous data, both physical and written and documentary. And what you do with the data like that, you have to define it, that you just take it all in. You say, what is lining up and what is just not lining up? And you start creating what are the truths between all the different datas. And you look at those, you examine them, and you bring them before the team and says, well, does this fit? If not, throw it out. And so forensics is more about throwing things out than adding things in, because you collect it all and then you eliminate what doesn't fit. And so it's a fascinating process to do
get
that.
the rubric. Let's dive in, bro.
Sorry.
I want to see the luminol, man.
I have brought Joseph in.
Okay, cool.
And he's given us the nod that this looks like a pretty good way to do this. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there. Okay.
Dude, that was killer. Best part of my day, bro.
And there you go. So how do we start? It really starts with the team, and it has to be the right team. Okay, we don't.
Joseph Smith agrees. He agrees, bro. He agrees.
Yeah, we got him on the back burner.
I will regularly be cutting to Joseph Smith, just nodding. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay.
We'll have to go to other things. So let me go back and find some other screens that we can look at here. But the key here is having the team that agrees on the vision, and the vision is look at the facts and then go from there. So let's walk through what needs to be examined from Carthage. So let's bring up some pictures. So this is Carthage. You see the front door there. Interesting enough, here's a crime scene that has not changed a lot for how many years? 180 years. It's well preserved. And so you have this building. And if you see, here's the side building. See the one with the bars on that? When they first were put it into the jail, they were actually in a room down below that would be what kind of like the drunk tape that they would put them in a small room, and it just had straw in it, and that's where they had their first incarceration there. Then the jailer had compassion on them and moved them up into his room upstairs. So that's where they were. And it had no bars. In fact, the door didn't even lock because it was broken. So back into the process, we need to go, and I'm showing different pictures right now of the different areas that will need to be analyzed. So are you showing screen or not?
Oh, yep, right here. Sorry. Okay,
so there's the front door. We'll capture that. There's inside the front door, sides. Then the most important thing is, here is the hallway. This is what goes up to the upstairs door, and here is the size. Now, when you look at that, it's important for you to understand. Yeah. Mobs are not big. You can't get 30 people up there. You get maybe 10 people on the stairs and 5 around the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then here's we'll capture all this area. This will be important information that will be captured by the team. Then also we'll capture and measure the dynamics of the holes that are in the door. They will give us trajectory. In fact, I did this plus 20 years ago, where we actually had dowels and we did lasers through that. So you can see kind of where the trajectory of the shot that went through the door frame and where it went. Then there's the shot that went through the panel.
Cool.
So you can see kind of the angles. So the angles are going to be important. We had lasers that we stuck in there and tightened them up, and then saw where those shots would have hit, either in the trajectory along with somebody in the middle of that or in the floor. So these are the kind of things that you will capture. They will capture the windows. That's the window that Joseph went out. This is a close-up of the window where he jumped out. Most people think that John Taylor jumped out of the same window that Joseph did. He did not. He actually jumped out of the window that's right here, the far right. That's the one on the front of the building, because he was sitting in that big window well, and he saw the mob coming up from afar. And as they're getting closer, he realized they're coming to the jail. And he gave the alarm, and all 4 of the brethren went to the door to try to barricade it, because it did not lock. There was no lock that functioned there. So
interesting.
Yeah, so it did not lock. Somebody could have just gone up there and pushed the door open, which they knew. So when they start seeing the mob show up, and now they start hearing them coming up the door, the stairs, and they pushed that. That's why they were pushing on the door to keep it shut. And so it was a struggle going on there with 4 people and probably 5 or 6 people on the other side.
That's always been, I guess we're just so used to every single door having a lock.
Well, there was a lock in place, but it did not work. In fact, they spent the first couple of days with their own pocket knives trying to whittle away certain areas on the frame and the door itself to try to get it to close. Most people don't know that.
Wow.
So a little bit of tidbit fascination information there. So
wait, so was it like not aligned correctly, and so the door didn't even shut all the way?
Well, correct. If you have a door that's not, you shut it and it goes bang bang, and it doesn't reset itself properly into the door frame, and that's what was happening there. So whether or not when they first put it in there, the building started to shift a little bit, or settled, or it just wasn't a really good job, they knew that they had a problem, because if nobody's coming up, then it wasn't a problem. But as soon as the mob was showing up, they knew that they had to barricade and hold that door shut if they could. But who knows what was in their mind when they see the people coming up with blackface and looking like maybe Indians and
how are the woke progressives not just like totally on our side on this? You had a mob in blackface.
Well, the Carthage grave actually stopped them at the door and asked them for their pronouns.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
So
that was a good one, bro.
There you go. So
I almost died there. I'm probably gonna have to edit out my own joke because I literally almost keeled over.
Okay.
But anyway, keep going.
So that's creating Carthage. And there's going to be a team involved with that. It's going to be fascinating when we get to that, because we literally can walk through there. And then we got to create avatars of the people. So now, back in 1995, I did my first project to forensically reconstruct the anatomy of Joseph and Hiram. And it was cutting edge. If you know anything about 3D animation, it was starting at that time. At that point, I was thinking about creating a career in that.
Cool.
So I I had the vision of what we could do. We had the death mask, which was the anatomy of at least the face of Joseph and Hiram. Although they were dead, they were in very preserved condition, and we talked about that in a prior recording, and you could see that up on WardRadio.
Yeah.
So then also the surprise is I got permission from the RLDS Church to have access to photographs of their skeletal remains.
Okay.
Which then gave me the rest of the anatomy to be able to put the face mask on. And so in the technology we had there, we actually built out 3D models of their heads. And then we created buff bodies of Joseph and Hiram.
Yeah, you did it. You did him some justice here, bro.
Yeah.
You know, you could have put maybe a tasteful fig leaf on Brother Hiram here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Bigger fig leaf on Joseph.
Well, of course, because he's the man.
But because he's the man.
Yeah. So,
but anyway,
so on this model, you see that there are stars on theirs.
Okay.
So those show where the wounds were. So you see two that are there in the head, one at by the base of the nose, one coming out the chin. You see one on the chest. That was actually a glancing blow that went down and ripped some of his clothing, but it didn't penetrate. Then you have the one there in the belly that came through the back. We'll show you a little bit about that.
Okay.
Then you have a hip shot, which is a glancing, and the knee shot. And then with Joseph, we have his wounds, which is there was what they call a wound on the collarbone there on the right side.
Yeah.
They don't call it a shot. So they suspect that maybe he broke his collarbone when he fell out the window or dove out the window.
Okay.
Then you had two shots in the body. One was a heart shot and one just off to the side. Then you have one there in the groin, which actually was a shot from the back that went that he got shot from the back. We have people who talk about blood on his pantaloons or his pants.
His pants.
Yes, and then you have
although we should bring back and normalize the term pantaloon.
There you go.
Which I would find an improvement to the lexicon. Okay, keep going.
And then there was another glancing shot on his hip. So those again is Joseph agreeing that, hey, maybe we've done a pretty good job here. So,
yeah, good job, Brother Joseph's back. Rock on.
So next slide. Let me see here. So then we have to create the avatars. So the avatars will actually be created from all the details that we collected back in 1995, 96. And we will then build out accurate 3D models. And then you have to dress them. So let me bring up some stuff here.
Cool.
So here is Hiram's shirt that he was wearing. And you can see there's blood off to the right side on the front. If you look down farther down, there is evidence that shot that was in his chest just glanced through there. And then we have his vest. So you see this little deficit there in the vest by the hand.
Yeah.
That's where that shot came down on the chest.
Okay.
So, and then we have the pantaloons. This actually has the underwear that they were wearing, which were long, the pants that he's wearing, and the vest. And you see there are shots that go through each one of those. So if he was wearing those would all match up to a one shot through and through. Little tidbit here. Many times when Joseph and Hiram were going somewhere that they were going to be in an area that they may be put in prison or be compromised, they always said that they went home and they changed their clothes. What that meant is they were going home and they were taking their garments off and getting into regular underwear because they did not want those sacred garments to be compromised.
Interesting.
Oh, that's interesting because some people are like, haha, Joseph doesn't even care about the garments. He took them off because it was hot.
No.
In the jail.
No, he cared. I mean, it's the same thing. That underwear that's there, it's long. It goes down to his ankle. The difference is what we know were the markings and things like that. They were sacred, and so they would put those aside and then would change into just plain underwear.
Wow, dude, this is intriguing, man. I am loving this right here.
So the other thing is when you start creating...
I'm just thinking of the videos the antis would make about, like, they would find a way to make it weird. But like the weird Mormon doctrine that you can't get murdered in your garments or something like that.
So we'll try to head that off, and it'll be an interesting documentary. So it will take its own path. and then there's no reason why we can't enjoy ourselves while we do that. Yeah. So here is something we need to talk about. When you create the avatars, if you just put a shell up, you don't really have all the ability to understand how that shot goes through the body. So why don't you pop up that screen that I have?
Rock on.
So within the bodies, we will add organs and bones and everything else, skin, so that you can actually program the avatar and put the variables of the resistance that the organs will be there. And it's not that you're going to get it perfect or anything like that, but you will be able to now add other elements to say, if this shot went through Hiram's back, we know it went through the back, and we know that it broke the pocket watch that was in his front pocket of his vest. We don't know for sure whether it penetrated that. Looks like it probably didn't, but the velocity of that going through his body shattered that pocket watch. I mean, we're talking just shattered it. I wish I had a picture of it. I'll get it later on. So again, we'll have a comprehensive inside to each of the bodies so that we can actually utilize that detail in the analysis of that. Then in addition to that, we will take each of the weapons that were known to be there and create them in 3D.
Yeah, this is awesome, man.
So they will be there, and we'll go through all the different ones that you see so that we can actually use those. And that's where we bring in people like Sam West and even my brother. Those are the experts that can say, here's how this weapon performs with this type of shot, with this type of load. And they had different types of loads there, and they were not smokeless. So I've seen a lot of people do shots modern day that they use smokeless powder. And the difference is when you shoot a non-smokeless gun, and I'll show you a picture of that, you have a big cloud that comes out. And so
in fact, you should grab while you're talking, show them the pepper box, because I've got the 1827 Allen and Thurber that's right next to you, which is literally the exact same pepper box that Joseph Smith held. We've got several of them. I think it's the one in the red case. That they also used to encase it in wax. I just found out from my gunsmith that after they put all of the not smokeless, but the smoked powder, which was actually less powerful as well. The smokeless was also more powerful. They would dip the end right there in wax so that it would keep the powder dry, so and the ball would shoot through it.
So you had caps that went on there. So you load each one, you put caps in there, then you would rotate it around, put another cap in there, put that wax in there to try to keep it in, and then you would also, maybe the wad there, you put a little bit of wax on the wad to keep it in there. And the problem with this gun is that you shoot here and then it shakes the whole gun. So there was a higher probability that some of these caps are going to fall off and not work well. So that's when Joseph shot this. Only 3 of these rounds actually fired and 3 other ones didn't. So
your first shot is the one that's most likely to fire, and the probability decreases as you go through the barrel.
Yes. Well, and then there's still the variable of whether or not that load was properly performed or anything. So why don't you go ahead and let me show you something I've got on screen. I've got a cap pistol, and we're going to show you if it starts viewing. Come on. Apologize, I'm having some. There we go. That's what that gun looks like with a cap and smoke.
Smoky powder, smoke-filled powder. What do you call it?
Smoke powder. So that's one. Let me bring another one up. It's running really slow.
It's all right. I can edit it. I'm just putting down a note here to edit the slow parts of this.
Do that again. So then I'm going to bring another one up, which is a front view. Boom. You see how much smoke that shows? I mean, if you're in a room and you get 4 or 5 shots into the room, you're soon walking in a cloud. And then I'm going to do one more.
Okay.
Which would be let's get up here.
That looks pretty cool, dude.
Yeah.
It looks like the opening of freaking like The Patriot 2 with Mel Gibson.
Well, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Except for Mel Gibson, he looks different now, so we have to hire Luke Hansen.
Or Gibbs. No, it's Gibbs.
Yeah, dude, or Gibbs from NCIS.
See, this is a pan. So he goes down, he hits the flint, It makes a spark. It flares up there in the pan, which they have poured in some gunpowder, and then that gunpowder ignites and goes down a tube into the barrel and ignites then the powder that's in there. Now you notice there's a couple of seconds when you fire and then it actually comes out. So you have to learn to fire, recorrect your shot, and then hold it steady as it actually finishes the firing process of putting the propellant downwind. So those things will also be analyzed, and we will recreate them in 3D. So, but it doesn't mean that we can't. Oh, there's one more I want to show you here. This is
cool. Hit it.
Let me bring it up. This is actually what it looks like when a ball goes through the panel of the door.
Wow.
You notice all that smoke comes through and then a lot of wood splinters. So if somebody's face was up against that door, they would look like a porcupine. Let me see if I can
Yeah, wow. Look at that.
So these are things that Sam Weston did for us. And we plan on, if he's willing to do that, have him on board. Because, yes, you still would do physical examination so that then you can take that, what you learned, and program that into the actual computer. So the key here is what we're trying to do is we will take modern day technology. I don't have anything in there. Oops, I have some interesting pictures that we can take a look at. View. There we go. So Sam did do some of shots going through a ballistic gel and a head, showing also here's what it would look like if you actually shot through the thing. There's also a couple of shots through the face. The interesting thing when you use the ballistic gels is they actually also can modify the path of the shot. So we have some that went through here and then came out here. Then we have some that went wonky, went other places. That's what happens in bodies. You can't always anticipate where the path of the bullet is going. And so it's important to do tests on those, but you can't really use those as the accurate because you cannot control them as tight as you can do that in the 3D models with the analysis that you can put in there. You can actually program a lot of details in there. So with the avatars, we will make them realistically. And so one thing I want to point out here, all the work that I did in 1995, 96, we'll start over because technology is so much farther advanced. We will take the facts that we have and then move them forward. So, for example, we can take AI and take the photographs of the skulls and then have the 3 or 4 different positions of those same skulls and have it then go create a 3D model with those, which would be fascinating. So what we have is we have 2D images of those. It'll take those 2D images and through the AI, it'll bring them all together. It'll take all the points that it should be touching and actually create a 3D model.
Cool. So I get that that's what you're going to do, but what can we say already forensically based off of what you know that is settled science and fact?
Well, and that's a lot of the stuff that's underneath debate. We know that according to the documentations, there's 2 pistols in the room, not 6, not 8, and that over a certain time period we had the mob show up. They met in Warsaw. They've been planning it for days. There's documentation saying that, hey, we're going to go do it now. They meet in a place called Gold Point, and half the mob disbands because they get a note from the governor saying, "Go ahead, you don't need to rescue me. I'm in Nauvoo now," and disband. And well, half of them do, but the rest of them say, "We kind of want to finish what we're going to do." And then there's a gentleman in Carthage that comes out and sends a note and says, "We are here. They are in the jail. Let's go do the deed." And they go forward and they do the deed. A lot of people don't talk about all this documentation and the records of that. Excuse me. So when they get there, they are now painted in blackface, looking some savage, some not. The Carthage Greys have already kind of stepped to the side. They go say, "Go ahead, go on up." And they rush up there and they hit the door. Now, when you remember that door, you're going to get maybe 5 people there on that landing. That's it. And they have pistols and they have rifles. In that area, you can't take a pistol. If you take a rifle, you take a rifle and you're going to have to put it in angles like this to shoot it. But the pistols, you pick it up and you just let it fall with the weight. it kind of gives us some of the angles and trajectories, what we see. So what we can do when we do the animation, we can actually say what could happen here. What weapons can work in this area, and what weapon will give us those trajectories. And what we do know is there was 2 shots. Hiram got shot first. Whether he got shot in the face or first or in the back will need to be determined. I have some ideas, but I'm not going to talk about them until we actually have the facts.
Cool, rock on.
And then John Taylor and everybody after those shots came through the door, they kind of pulled back, and that's probably where Hiram got shot in the back, fell down, and then somehow he gets another shot to the face. Excuse me, that was Hiram. John Taylor then flees from the door, and remember, he was sitting on the window by the door, so he turned into a flight or fright mode, where he's just trying to get out of the room. And he goes back to where he was at, and he knew there's a way to get out that window. He goes there, and as he's trying to get out, something happens to him. He gets shot probably from the door, and it hits him in the back. He has a wound there in the back, and just like a deer, when you get shot like that, you just drop. You don't, or you may pull back a bit from some of the reactions of your nerves. And he falls down on the windowsill, and he compresses the pocket watch that was in his front pocket against his body and that windowsill. And what happens is, we know that's happening because later on we've examined the pocket watch, and you see that there's a little tiny star of the broken enamel on the front, which some people claim was a bullet that hit them. And then on the back, there's dimples that are where the metal has been pushed out from the casing. If you open up the pocket watch, what you see is those dimples and that star match up to the workings on the inside of the pocket watch, the gears. And so what happened when they got compressed, the gears didn't compress, they pushed out and caused that. So in John Taylor's recollection of him being shot, when he first recalls that to people, there is no shot to his pocket watch. He just knows that something happened that miraculously kept him from going out to the window. And that's common when you talk to your forensic science crime scene. They tell you the worst people to get information from are those who are being involved with the crime scene. They will remember certain things, or they maybe will remember the details. Oh, I got shot here, I got shot there, I got shot here. But then they have to try to put it together. There's a void, and they put that together. Now, I consider John Taylor's recollection of falling down and trying to crawl to the bed and get out of the line of fire of the shots. Now, there are shots coming through the door, and they are probably bouncing off the floor and hitting him. Or some may be hitting him directly, but a lot of times it looks like he's getting ricochets that are hitting him. And he gets shot in the arm, it travels up the arm and goes into his hand. And the doctor talks about taking that bullet out of there, and he talks about the size, and it was the size of a dime. So those shots is what you don't just shoot somebody arm straight on and say, well, that doesn't work. No, you have to reconstruct what the shot did. And we do have the doctor who examined the bodies and examined John Taylor. I had that report. That's why the shots that I showed you on those 3D models, those are based upon the report that happened that night. So we know that. John Taylor, even though he's later on talks about being shot in the pocket watch, somebody else introduced that to him. Somebody put that into his mind, and then he says, well, maybe that's what happened. So,
or maybe he was telling the truth, and you're just supporting. No, I don't know. I was going to try and come up with a cool conspiracy.
Well, this actually brings up a topic that some of these Who Killed Joseph Smith people have brought up, which was the way that Hiram got shot would have severed his nerve back in the spinal column immediately or something like that. So he couldn't have said, I'm a dead man. Right. Willard Richards, I believe it was. Willard Richards.
So let's talk about that.
And so then they say, so that means that this is a made-up story, and they're making up stuff because they were the ones that did something.
Yeah, and so Willard Richards. Willard Richards is a little problematic because he kind of...
Who's this guy again? Willard Richards? Why? I mean, I know he was
the fourth guy in the room.
I know he's one of the names of the people in the room, but what's his significance in the story again?
He's one of the apostles.
Okay, rock on. Keep going.
As John Taylor. So when Willard Richards recants he's also suffering from the I'm part of the victim, being part of the trauma there. And I don't think he saw everything. I think the door came out and trapped him behind the back. So there are probably moments he didn't see, but he fills them in as he remembers later on. So the shot that goes through Hiram's head, there's debate whether which one's the entrance room or the exit room, and it goes through like this and comes out here. It's very shallow. We have the pictures of his skull, and we know that it shattered all the bones from the eyes down to the jaw. It shattered them. Because later on, when they exhumed Hiram for the first time after they buried him in the basement of the Nauvoo house, they took the caskets up into the upper room of the mansion, opened them up. Hiram and other people took some clippings of his hair. But then when they opened up, Emma took Joseph's clippings, but then Hiram's face, when they examined it, had fallen in. So it just collapsed in. So what had happened is there had been enough time that transpired that those fleshy, the muscles and everything else that holds that together had disintegrated. And so they were no longer holding the face in place, and that had collapsed in. So we know that Hiram's skull, when you look at it, has to have a problem with the bones from the eyebrows down. And I do have, if you look at the video we did before this one, it has that in there. So, but that's what you need to do, and that's part of the forensics. So
rock on.
Okay, so that was something we do know. We know also that Joseph received a shot from the back of the hips before he went out the window. We know that bullets were flying. We also know that after he went through the window, and we speculate that he was leaving the room because he knew once he left, the attention would go with him. And if he could do that, Willard Richards was back behind the door. John Taylor was being shot up underneath the bed. There's a possibility he could save them. So, we need to figure out, okay, what happened at the window? Did he crawl out? Did he fall out? Did he dive out? I will tell you, those windows were open. All the windows were open, and they were made out of oak, and the frame between the two windows when you open them are together, and they make about 3-4 inches worth of oak. You don't do that dramatic come up to the window and bust through it and it all breaks apart and you find out. You do that, you're going to bounce back in the room. So you have to physically want to go out that window. So either you crawl, you crouch over and you dive out, or you crouch over and you help yourself out. There's different stories of what people saw there. Well, we will use that to figure out what happened. But then the story goes on the picture there, as you can show here, he fell out the window. People grabbed him and put him up against the well. You see the well there. And then there were a number of people. Some say 2, some say 4. And the gentleman on a horse says for them to fire into the body. Well, if they were pretty close, there are 2 shots that look like would be a body shot. Those could have been the ones that killed him. It was said that he died outside. That was probably the most consistent representation or testimony that we had, that he died outside, that he was alive and he came out the window. As he was going out, some people said he took the Masonic plea for help and things like that. So here's some stuff we know, but what we need to do is we wash our mind of these things, and then we just look at the details. So as a forensic criminal investigation person, he will collect the facts. He'll bring his team together. They'll come together often and say, what do we find? What do we see? What fits? And then we will use technology to test all that.
Okay, cool.
So at the conclusion, we will be able to then go through and have the avatars reenact that time in Carthage.
So what's your suspicion? What's do you think you're going to find something wildly different than what the generalized kind of basic and kind of sanitized story that we get in church? Because you only have 30 minutes for Sunday school. And in the part of the lesson where we finally get to the martyrdom, we don't want to dwell on it because then there's the success of moving west and then the success of those, but you want to give it its due diligence. But I mean, you can't explain forensic details in 25 minutes. So we all know that he went calm like a summer's morning. We all know that a mob assembled. We all know that, certain people took credit. And there's an argument whether it happened upstairs in the main room or whether it happened down in the well. And that's kind of reserved for the MHA Mormon Historical Association people to know all those details. But is there anything that you think the average bear doesn't really know that is important?
Well, I think the most important thing is properly going through the scene and putting people in the right places and letting the truth tell that, and they will play that out. It was a vicious scene. I mean, you have one person being shot up and pieces of flesh coming off him. You have people getting shot in the face. I mean, it will be dramatic. Whether or not you're going to say aha moments, I think there will be some, but it's not going to. It will take the narratives that we know and fit them along the timeline.
Is there anything specific to the standard narrative right now about the martyrdom of Joseph Smith that doesn't make sense to you?
So once again, if I answer that, I am breaking my rule for this documentary in the process.
The documentary doesn't exist yet, so there's no rules for it yet, baby. Come on. Is there anything that doesn't make sense in the narrative? There's already rules for it to say we will take the facts and we will let them play out. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, is there something, though, in all of, like, you can still be unbiased and say, okay, here's some holes in the narrative that I don't see yet, and I look forward to filling those holes.
Certainly.
What are some holes where you're like, this to me doesn't pass muster yet?
I'll give a couple of them. So after Joseph steps forward and does his 3 shots with his pepper box, the mob clear out. They were not expecting that. So there is a lull in the activities that are going on there. Hiram is shot and laying on the ground. I'm presuming he's probably dead, and Joseph probably goes there and turns him over and says his goodbye to him. And so,
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, so you will probably see that, and it is heartbreaking. So it is going to be more.
Oh, I can't even imagine that.
But then at that point, he looks over, probably sees John Taylor underneath the bed, bleeding with pieces of flesh splattered all over the wall. He sees Willard Richards, still probably hiding behind the door.
So there was a lull.
Yes.
In which, Hiram hadn't made out the window, so he probably turned him over.
Hiram. Hiram was laying on the floor. He'd already been shot twice, 3 or 4 times. He's got glancing shots. So, Joseph takes this thing, he reaches around the door, probably with his offhand, and he fires it out the door. He hits 3 people.
Yeah.
So also the mob go, wait a second, they're not supposed to be armed up there. And those 3 people who got hit, along with probably everybody else that maybe have already shot their shots, because remember, they're single shots. They may be empty in a lot of those things, or are they going to have to hand up weapons to go forward? But hey, they're going to run down, and there is a lull. And so he, at that point, has a chance to go over and say goodbye to Hiram. And then he realizes, they're after me, they're after Hiram. We knew that. If I can get out of here, maybe I can save the other 2 brethren's life. This is my speculation.
Yeah, okay.
And so then he goes to the window. Now people are coming back up. He gets shot in the back from somebody in the door, because the door's not closed anymore. And it hits him, and he staggers him. And then he maybe gets another glancing shot, and then he goes out and he dives out or pushes himself out. He falls the 2 stories, or single story down, hits on his right side. And there is evidence that people see him falling out and hitting on his right side and his feet. It's kind of like this in an open area, and then falling over.
Dude, this is the only thing I haven't gotten about this. Why wasn't the Nauvoo Legion there protecting the jail?
Well, because they were in on it, and they had already disbanded and disappeared. They couldn't be around. So, no, sorry. The Nauvoo Legion.
I think you got mixed up the Carthage Greys versus...
Yeah, the Carthage Greys. The Nauvoo Legion...
Dude, by the way, congrats for making the clip that's going to travel all around all the right circles. Because they were in on it. No. Forensic expert admits they were in on it. Okay. No, I'm talking about the Nauvoo Legion. Like, why weren't the Mormons there that loved Joseph Smith? Because let me tell you...
The Nauvoo Legion was for the town of Nauvoo, and Carthage was outside of that jurisdiction.
But we're already dealing with the wild wild west here.
He'd be marching an army into like foreign territory.
Yeah. So I have the answer. Now, Joseph had asked the legion just to stand down for a while and be on reserve. Governor Ford and his little posse go over to Nauvoo with Joseph. They find him halfway through, and they go back and they collect all the arms, and they disband the Nauvoo Legion. So they're no longer armed with the government arms. It doesn't mean that they can't find weapons and come at, but they were given the direction from Joseph to not come and attack. Don't come rescue us. So can you imagine if they did do that? There'd be civil war going on there in Carthage, and so it would have been worse. More people would have died. And there's evidence when Joseph, he saw in a waking vision, that if he went to Carthage, he would die. But if he went to Carthage and they spilled his blood, that would satisfy them for a while, and the saints in Nauvoo and the surrounding area would be safe. He told them that. He also told them...
And the mob bought mortars and cannons and started shelling Nauvoo.
Yeah, but that was quite a bit later. So yeah, the Battle of Nauvoo is another thing we should do. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, that nobody knows about. And like these anti-Mormons haven't changed.
No.
Like they haven't changed. Literally read the Warsaw Signal and like their rhetoric and justification of, well, we usually don't do such crazy stuff, but these people deserved it because of like literally it's wokeism 1840s. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then just justifying this heinous violence against men, women, and innocent children, right? And like I just tell people now, I'm just like, if you don't think these modern anti-Mormons wouldn't do this, like you are totally fooling yourself. There is a thin veneer of civilization, and the U.S. government has somehow convinced the United States population, due to lack of a civil war on our soil for 150 years and lack of an international war on our soil for centuries and lack of widespread factional violence like there was during the Wild Wild West, because we have lacked that in our prosperity, there is a thin veneer of civilization, and the U.S. government has convinced the population that they have a monopoly on violence. But let me tell you, when that thin veneer goes away, if you don't think these anti-Mormon cats nowadays wouldn't straight up do this exact same thing, you are fooling yourself.
Yeah, but then you have to realize
the kind of crazy thing is that, to your point, is that a lot of these people that were in the mob went on to become like mayors, politicians, lawyers. Like they weren't like some sort of mass murdering gaggle of ruffians.
Yeah, and there's a book out there called Fate of the Persecutors of the Prophet Joseph Smith that actually talk about some horrific diseases, flesh falling off these people's bodies and dying of terrific things that didn't happen to these people. It's just like Luke was saying. They went on to be prominent people. They were, in a sense, heroes of that area because the Mormons were going to take over the place and they couldn't control them. And so they took ball and powder and took it into their hands and gave them the justified death that they felt that they needed.
Wow, dude.
So here's the question then. Didn't Joseph Smith deserve this because he smashed a printing press?
No,
that's kind of the way that it goes.
Yeah, and so if you watched the video before this, we actually talk about that. So if you don't know that it's out there, it'll be there. Watch that one first because we really don't need to reintroduce it here. It's there. And so by Kimberly Smith, she has done amazing research of the documents that are preserved. All those, the wolves or the Judas that was within the ranks that Joseph talks about, they're spelled out, they're named. And yes, there were people within.
Can we just shame the descendants of this mob? Like, can we just like do their genealogy, figure out who they are? And, like,
well, Luke, if you want to take that on, that's fine.
I don't think I will actually.
Yeah,
doesn't the Bible say something like under the third or fourth generation, 1840s? I mean, we're like in the third or fourth generation.
God does it to the third and fourth generation, not WardRadio.
Well, I will bring this one thing up now. Is Joseph Smith is talking to the guards, and he asks them, "Do I look like the person that they say that I am?" And they go, "No, you look like a pretty normal guy. You don't look crazy." And can they say, but we can't see what's in your heart. And he says, "I can see what's in your heart. Nothing but, my blood, the shedding of my blood will satisfy you." Then he makes a a prophecy. He says that there'll come a time that you will be, and you will see shots firing out left and right or whatever, and cannons will be then, and you will see enough blood to satisfy you, and it will be from friendly fire. Well, the people that were there, they end up being out in the I think the Mexican-American War, and they are in a situation where they're ahead of their own troops, and their own troops fire on them, and most of them die. So there's so much. Joseph Smith was such
So a bunch of them didn't go on to be a bunch of prominent people.
At least those guys didn't, but they weren't part of the mob. They were just part of the jailers.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, then, anything else? Anything else left before we go?
Just one more slide, I think.
Okay, hit it.
There is
there he is.
One more closing. Let's get him to
you
move.
You did it, bro. You did it. Is he going to agree with us? He's thinking.
He's thinking. And then he's going to go.
Will he put not his papal bull, but his prophetic bull upon this?
Yeah, I think he will.
He's like, I don't know. This is a Rorschach test at this point. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get out of it.
Stare me down.
Oh, no, there was a smirky smile. So he likes it. He likes it. So, all right, guys. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Yeah?
Before we do this, this documentary is going to be expensive to do. So I am going to propose, because I don't think that the people that are on here are very rich people, that we maybe put a GoFundMe out to help us put all the money together to do the things that we can't get volunteers. And also members of the ward and those who are watching here, if you feel that you can contribute to this with either expertise or dollars, reach out to us and let's start seeing where we get. As we go through this documentary, we will actually do updates, and we will show you where we're at, give you little snippets, and show how things are.
Oh, you can't give it away, dog.
We won't give it away. We'll just give little teasers.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So what I'm doing, I'm saying, if we're going to do this, and the reason this always prevented me doing it in the past was technology and money. And so there are others who have found lots of money to do these things. These things are
But the technology, yeah, it really is. It's finally here now in also a predictable way. Like, we've been able to prove how well it works.
Right.
And it's no longer just kind of like this, do we trust it quite yet? It's literally proven its worth. And this is used in construction. This is used in forensics all the time. This is used in engineering. This is used in computer analysis and ad nauseum. It is used and it is trusted well. Yes. So yes, we'll definitely figure out whatever the funding mechanism is. I think it is great if you have people that want to reach out with expertise and volunteer their knowledge, which is also half of it. This is going to be totally awesome. And Luke's going to be there writing articles about this whole thing. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you would like to help participate in the project, reach out on the website. I think this is something worth pursuing, and this is Just Add Water Filmmaking. It's probably going to take a while. We got to get a lot of ducks in the row, but I'm definitely going to be here to help collab on this. You look like you want to say one last thing.
Yeah, one last picture. Bring up my slide.
Okay.
The martyrs have waited long enough to finally have the story close. Not with speculation, not with somebody inventing theories. The brethren here, and this is a beautiful painting that we had done by someone based upon some of our research, but they have been waiting. Maybe they probably haven't been waiting, but they deserve to have the full story told, and that's what we will do.
Cool. Rock on. Awesome. So, guys, it's been real, and it's been fun, and it has been real fun. For this and more, please make sure you guys check us out at WardRadio.com. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Before you go, please make sure that you like the video, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please let this be the video in which we earn your subscription, and that you press the alert button so you're alerted to all of our fun live streams and standalone videos and community posts. Also, if you'd like to help us out, please consider joining the channel. Members get all kinds of cool perks and benefits. They get early access to a lot of our videos and special emoticons and emojis during our live streams and preferential treatment there. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, we have a super cool Discord. If you'd like to join our Discord, check us out on WardRadio.com. There's a link to the Discord there. Also, you can sign up there for our newsletter. Our newsletter is a lot of fun, and you can put your email address in there. And if you'd like to contribute to the program, please consider looking us up on Venmo or on the CashApp. We're on both of those platforms. Also, if you just want to keep watching more content, right about here and probably right about here are going to be some more videos. Please check those out. And as always, for this and more, please make sure that you look us up and check us out at wardradio.com.